just think it's a wonderful community. Great participation. And then finally, I want to introduce our own commissioner here, Tim Blake.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Appreciate the opportunity to serve you all for the past 8 years, and I hate to go, but remember there's some very important races coming up, and this is one of them. The one with State Senator Gail Sports is another. Please get out and vote. That's the most important thing I can tell you, because your vote will decide, and that is the name of this girl went first, and that is critical at this point in time. But I'd like to just say a few things here about Michael. Michael has been a strong independent voice for Colorado, someone who's focused on common sense solutions, not playing political games. And that's the kind of person I want in Washington. He's spent his life outside of politics, and in the real world his career has been centered on common sense solutions and getting results. And he's worked to turn around failing companies and save jobs, balance city budgets, and reform public schools. And that's the same philosophy he's used as a U.S. Senator. But I don't want to take a lot of time, because I want everybody to hear from Michael. But before that, I want to introduce Mary Ann, who is a great volunteer. Where'd she go? There she is. And I will let her say a few words. Thanks, Commissioner.
My name is Mary Ann Uslack. I live up in Buena Vista, and I got a call and was offered the opportunity to introduce the senator. And frankly, I don't know why. It's not for my public speaking skills, so I'm going to give it my best shot using cheat sheet. I am a county volunteer, mostly for all candidates, but my activities certainly pale in comparison to a lot of the volunteers who work in this county every day to get out the vote and to promote our candidates. So I'm really humbled by this opportunity to actually introduce a United States Senator. I was a delegate for Senator Bennet to the State Assembly along with several others. And I was a delegate because I was very impressed with his efforts on our behalf for improving health care, for encouraging a package of legislative initiatives that would help our economy. So I was very proud to be a supporter of Senator Bennet at that time. One of my jobs right now is to encourage folks to vote and encourage folks here who have voted to make an effort to have others vote. Mark Emmer gave some statistics that 47% of registered Democrats in this county have voted, which is a wonderful statistic, but we have a way to go. So Tuesday, a lot of folks want to vote. Actually, on Election Day, it's an exercise in democracy. A lot of people prefer to do it that way. There are probably some unaffiliated voters here who want to take a last look at our candidates. So I encourage all of you to vote. In my opinion, this midterm is the most important midterm in my lifetime. The consequences are much more than just being disappointed at losing the majority of Congress, because the agenda would change so drastically, and that is why it is so important for us to vote and encourage like-minded neighbors and friends and relatives to also vote. I would love to see a 70 or 80% participation rate, which would be so unusual and set records, because midterms typically there isn't a whole lot of interest. Lastly, as a woman, I cannot for the life of me understand why any woman would vote against Senator Bennet has stood very strongly for women. We make up more than 50% of the voters. And I just can't imagine going back 40 years to those times. As an older woman, I remember those times, and they were terrible. And I think younger women that are under 40 need to understand what a terrible setback that would be for women. So without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce Senator Michael Bennet.
Thank you, everybody.
here today. Thank you to all the leadership that's here with all of you. Pete, thanks for kicking this thing off, and good luck in your race. To make sure Pete wins would be great. Also, I want to say a word on behalf of Gail Schwartz, who's not here today, and it's not because she doesn't care about Salida. You know that. It's because she is working hard to make sure she holds on to this critical Senate seat in the state legislature. And she is one of those, I'm finding, rare people in politics. You know, I've never run for office before, as you probably have heard. One of those rare people in politics who puts us first and not politicians first, not political games first. She's open-minded, she listens to people, and maybe even more than any of that, she works her tail off every single day, which I can't say for everybody who's back. Listen, I won't take a lot of your time today, in part because I can't, because we've got to go to Alamosa, and then to Walsenburg, and then to Pueblo, and then the Springs. We're coming over from Glenwood Springs. My wife, Susan Daggett, is here today. She's from the best campaigner that we have had. Salida, Bennet, and I don't know where her two little sisters are, but her two sisters, they're swinging, so you're the only people who are swinging. But you can't, you know. But I was walking along the river here just on my way up, and I was remembering a different time in my life, in our lives, before we had children, and Susan and I were just traveling around Colorado on a vacation in Denver, and we came to Salida one night. It was a Friday night, I think, and spent the night in a tiny little motel over here and had dinner right down here and then walked around the river. And every time I've been back, you know, I try, this time I only got about 10 seconds, but I try to take in the sweep of the Arkansas. It's so beautiful, it's so peaceful, and some of you that have lived here for a long time, I doubt this is true for many of you, but some of you may have not have at the top of mind the observation I always have when I come here is how lucky you are to live in this place.
Oh, every day.
Thank you for letting me come back time and time again. We are in the closest Senate race in the United States of America. It is this race in Colorado. And it is likely going to be decided by hundreds of votes, which means that we have an incredible opportunity to win on it. All we have to do is get our vote out. And there are thousands of people across the state working on that today, tomorrow, the next day. This is enough people right here to turn out everybody in Chaffee County. I mean, if we just look at the folks that are here. And there is the opportunity, we've got lists, but we've got lists of everybody that hasn't voted yet. We need people to knock on doors, we need people to call folks. These aren't people you need to persuade of anything. We're just reminding them to get their ballots in at this point, and they are much more likely to say thank you to you when you call than say, why are you bothering me? Thank you for reminding me that I've got to get my vote out. And I believe we will get the vote out. I believe we will win this race on Tuesday. And it's critically important for Colorado, which is the most important thing to me. But it also is critically important for the country, for us to send a message from this purple state that we have no interest in going back to the policies that drove us into this ditch to begin with. Colorado is looking forward, not backward, in that we have no interest in a bunch of talking points that are put up by some right-wing think tanks in Washington, D.C. We don't have any interest in having a senator who's going to carry Jim DeMint's water from South Carolina back in Washington, who, for reasons that are obscure to me, has concluded that Mitch McConnell is insufficiently obstructionist enough and insufficiently far to the right enough that he needs to run these primaries across the country on the Republican side. The choice in this race is really, really clear. You know, Ken Buck says that he doesn't care whether things are made in China or India or the United States. We all care about that a lot. People in Salida do, and all across the state want to bring jobs back here that were outsourced overseas during the last administration. He says that the Founding Fathers never intended for us to have student loans. And I believe that yeah, that's what he said. By the way, every time I say something he says I took him out of context. Let me tell you something. The only way it's